Good morning, my Hatchechubbee family. I am excited to be bringing this video to you. I'm sorry we're not meeting in person. However, we're going to go ahead and get started because I'm not tech savvy and I only have access to so much video and time with other people helping me. So with that said, let's get started and read John 1:1 through 5. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was God. But in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God. Very important, with God. And the Word was God. He was with God in the beginning. Through him all things were made. Without him nothing was made that has been made. In him was life, and that life was the light of all mankind. The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome. So that kind of could be a tongue twister if we're not careful. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God. And the Word was God. He was with God in the beginning. So this week, can you imagine? It's the first Sunday of the first of the year, the first Sunday of 2021. And we could not have imagined last year that we would be sitting here face to face video chatting, learning at what angle to look at the camera or how to use some uploading techniques. But we are. And, you know, it is what it is. Here we are, and we're just going to have to roll with it. Again, I guess Hatchechubbee was kind of used to doing it in the very beginning. I sent my previous church, I just sent emails because I was having a hard time having video. So let's just hope and pray that this video goes through. It's only about my 12th time videoing. Yes, okay. Not that I had to upload it yet, but because I just keep messing up. So I'm just going to keep going whether I mess up or not. So y'all just love me through this, okay? Anyway, what a year this has been. We could not have imagined last year at this time that we would be here today. We just couldn't imagine. Sean was writing his sermon and he was kind of having a hard time with it. This week we're both preaching off of the same scripture. I think his is a little bit longer than mine. The scripture goes through 13. And we have the same sermon, but they're not the same. We bounce ideas off of each other and we kind of take some things from each other, but we make it our own. However, the meaning of the depth of it is the same. And we both think it's very important that we just kind of get to what God is trying to tell us. So one thing he was having a problem with is he was just trying to figure out what's been going on in the world. You know, what's been going on with you and your world as we were talking. It's like, we know what's in our world, we know what's in the world's world, but what about you and your world? How are you feeling? One thing Sean did was he went on Facebook and he wrote this question. He posted on Facebook. It says, tell me what they've learned in the past year. So what have you learned this past year? That's basically what he asked. What have you learned this past year? And I sat and I thought for a minute and I'll tell you what I said at the very end. But this is some of the feedback he got. He got over 75 comments, and I thought that was pretty interesting because Sean doesn't really get a whole lot of comments. No, I said that. But here's what some people had said. They're saying, now remember, tell me what you learned last year. One person said to be thankful for things that were taken for granted in previous years. Many people spoke about importance of family. One said, God is ever present. He is my strength and hope and security. For every statement that someone got, we came up with a scripture that it just flowed right in. So God is ever present. He is my strength, hope, and security. And that reminds us of Psalm 46:1. God is our refuge and strength, always ready to help in times of trouble. The other one says, no matter how well an organization thinks it is running, something can disrupt its operations. Coca-Cola plant, Ford plant, the church, we thought the operations were running just fine, didn't we? Well, we have learned how true it is not to rely on ourselves. God is in control. We are not. And that reminds me of when my anxious thoughts multiply with me, your comfort delights my soul. Psalms 94:19. And I really like that one because it doesn't say, this is not the one that says, do not be anxious about everything, but give your petitions to the Lord. This is when my anxious thoughts multiply within me, your comfort delights in my soul. So it is really turning our hearts towards us, to what we're going through. One person says, simplicity, how very much I enjoy just being at home with my family and not constantly on the go. Timothy 6:8 says, but godliness with contentment is great gain, for we brought nothing into the world, and we could take nothing out of it. But if we have food and clothing, we will be content with that. We didn't bring anything in the world, and we can't take anything with us. One person says, it has been a lesson of patience for sure. We've all learned to slow down and enjoy our family. We've also learned to lean on the Lord during these times because our hope is in Him. And that kind of reflects on Psalms 46:10, where it says, be still and know that I am God. Another says, I have learned how little we need all of the extra in our lives. During the times we were forced to exist with just our families within our own homes, we became aware of how little we needed of all the outside distractions and how blessed we were for the family we had. On the other side of the coin, I realized how much I take for granted. Simple things like walking through Target and drinking my Starbucks. Not sure who said that, but this is what Philippians says about that. For I have learned to be content in whatever circumstances I am in. I know how to get along with the humble means, and I also know how to live in prosperity. In any and every circumstance, I have learned the secret of being filled and going hungry, both of having abundance and suffering need. I can do all things through Him who strengthened me. And that's Philippians 4:11 through 13. Another says, when you meditate on the Word and continue in prayer and worship, your heart and mind will renew and keep the joy of peace that God has given us, and fear will not overtake us. For God has not given us a spirit of fear, but a power and love and a sound mind. 2 Timothy 1:7. It's kind of interesting, isn't it? So for everything that someone has said, God's got a scripture for it. God doesn't, we have the saying is, people say, God will not give you something that you can't handle. No. God will not give you something that He cannot handle. Let's read a few more. Have faith in what God's plan is, one person said. With everything we've all been through, tomorrow is a new day. I know the plans I have for you, plans to prosper you, not to harm you, plans to give you a hope in the future. Jeremiah 29:11. My response, however, which this is what kind of turned me on to this scripture in this passage and the sermon in itself, is I went back and Sean, I think he wrote his sermon, then he scratched it maybe on Wednesday or Thursday even. And so anyway, I adjusted mine. But so this is what I said about Sean's questions. Tell me what you've learned throughout this year. And I said, my response was, if you want to make God laugh, tell Him your plan. The 2020 calendar was pointless. However, seek His will and not your own. That was my response. So learn to seek His will and not my own. I'm a planner for the most part, and well, I guess I just made God laugh. I was reading an article this week of one person commented, I have spent years running from addressing depressive and anxious symptoms. When there are no social distractions or trips to plan, there was nowhere for me to hide from myself. Another said, I discovered that he had been, he was fighting alcoholism. He thought he was a social drinker and had drinks with his friends and had drinks at a dinner and had drinks at a party. But when he couldn't go anywhere, he realized that he was an alcoholic, and he just didn't realize it because he started drinking by himself all the time. And so on the plus side of that situation, he recognized his issue. He recognized he was an alcoholic and praying that God gets him through that. And if you're a person of faith, yes, we can all admit 2020 was in many cases frustrating, lonely, anxiety-riddled of the year. Yet I believe we have also learned something. We have learned about things we've learned about ourselves that hopefully we will not let go of. There are some lessons I hope we will not forget, even if it was the lesson of just being still and trusting Him and not ourselves. Today is the first day of 2021, a new year, and while the last one will forever have some dark spots in our minds and our eyes, we are praying that this year will be a little easier. I expect many have made New Year's resolutions already, on which I naturally assume that, we make New Year's resolutions and by the third day we haven't done them. My New Year's resolution, my New Year's resolution is to run. I've had my New Year's resolution since the 1st of November. I'm like, first day of the year, I'm going to start running back. I'm going to get back into running. I'm going to get back into, well, I speed walk. I really don't run as old as I am, but y'all haven't done it yet. So we're on like day number 3, day number 4, and I've already broken my New Year's resolution. So I'm a work in progress. Y'all know that. So we're going to go to the doctor. This one lady, she says, one of her resolutions is, one of which I naturally assume is to be involved in worship each week. That's what I'm hoping y'all do, because y'all are great. I just love y'all. Y'all are just amazing group of people at Hatchechubbee. This one lady says, I will go to the doctor whose office plants have died. I guess she's going to water them. I'm going to follow my husband's suggestion and put a little excitement in my life by living within a budget. I know. I'm going to do that. I do. I'm going to apply for a hardship scholarship to Weight Watchers. And she says, I will never loan my car to anyone that I have given birth to. Y'all, I don't know if y'all have had children that have been asking for stuff, but my kids are, I don't know. I think they think I live off a money tree since they've been home. They're constant. They want to eat all the time. They want to go somewhere all the time. Well, it was like day 4, even though we couldn't go anywhere. There's a story that says, I heard about one poor guy who dialed his girlfriend and got the following recording. I'm not available right now, but thank you for caring enough to call. I am making some changes in my life. Please leave a message after the beep. If I do not return your call, you're one of my changes. Sometimes we have to weed people out of our life, don't we? It's good to make changes for the most part, as often as we can, to remind ourselves of critics, our spouses, our children. None of us are perfect. In fact, some of us might have some deep regrets about what we have done, the choices we've made, or the way we've lived our lives. Dr. Martin Luther says, let me get back to the scripture. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. He was with God in the beginning. Through him all things were made. Without him nothing was made that has been made. Like I said, that was a kind of a tongue twister, but this year's kind of reminded me that he was in it all along. He knew the plans before us. He was there with us, and he's still here with us today. On a positive theme of the New Year's, the prolonged to, we just need to receive him. We need to take God in and maybe start focusing on the future, not on let's getting back to the normal. Just kind of focus on what God has planned for us today. I want to say this, is unrealized potential. We all have potential that we are untapped into. We are children of the dust who have the potential to be the children of the divine. Listen to that. We are children of the dust who have the potential to be the children of the divine. What is our potential this year? What are we going to do in 2021? What are we going to do to make it different? This one guy says, someone, this is a story that someone had said. It's just a real brief. It says, a young man was pedaling around a college campus on his bicycle. In the back of his t-shirt, it read, I'm going to be a doctor one day. There was a sign on his bike that said, I'm going to be a Mercedes one day. Well, that young man had potential, didn't he? There is something more, something bigger about your spiritual potential. What is your spiritual potential? I know we could start another Bible study and we could change the way we do things, but what is your potential? What is your potential? Your potential is untapped. It doesn't matter how old you are, how young you are. God has something bigger planned for you than what you think you are. He's got something bigger planned for you than what you think you can. Do not put limitations on yourself. If you ask yourself, if I had all the money in the world, all the time in the world, and I was the age that I thought I should be, what would I do with no limitations? All the money in the world, all the time in the world. What would you do? What is your potential? What does 2020 have for you? Listen to this. Most of you know the African American preacher of Tony Evans. Dr. Evans came to know Jesus because of something that happened to him, his father. One night, his father gathered the family around the kitchen table and told the children, including the 10-year-old Tony, that he had given his life to Christ. Tony's father was a rough living longshoreman in Baltimore, Maryland. He made liquor in his basement, but by the grace of God, he became a different person once he accepted Christ. A few days after giving his life to Christ, he threw out all the liquor making equipment in his basement. There had been a lot of conflict and strife in their family, but following the genuine conviction experience, Tony's parents renewed their commitment to love, and the bickering between them grew quiet. Through times of Bible study and prayer, the entire family began to grow together. Before there was conflict, and suddenly there was peace, says Evans. Our family became stable and strong. As a further result of his father's turnaround, Tony Evans eventually found himself following Christ, to the point that he enrolled in the Dallas Theology Seminary. Today, Tony Evans is one of America's best-known ministers. And if you've never heard Tony Evans preach, YouTube it, Google it. He is an amazing evangelist speaker. Now, he's not an evangelist, but he has got an evangelical passion. So it doesn't happen just that dramatically, and sometimes it is conversion is immediate, and then sometimes it's just a slow and steady life. I do not have some major thing that happened in my life that led me to Christ. I just kind of gradually developed a relationship with him as time went on. However, whatever your coming to Christ was or is, whether it was a big bang and a life-changing event, or it's just you just grew up always knowing, don't forget that in this time when you're in need of friendship and you're in need of spiritual growth. Whatever it is that you learn in 2020, know that 2021, you could be more than you think. You can be more than you can imagine. And the best gift that you have was not wrapped under the tree. The best gift that you have is having a relationship with Christ. Remember to seek Him and to follow Him. And take away from today is take away some of the laughter and the tears from 2020. But remember that 2021, the best is yet to come. The best is yet to come. What does He want you to do? Come to Him so He can guide you. May you go in peace. Have a wonderful and blessed day. And I pray for each and every one of you.